Welcome to the Women's Connection. I'm Barrie-Louise Switzen, your moderator. The Women's Connection is a program about events shaping women's lives and helping one gain authentic power on a personal or professional level. So won't you stay tuned?
Some people say I talk fast, but compared to our guest, I take baby steps. With me is Fran Capo, and we're going to talk about humor in life and in work. And Fran, I would like to welcome you to the show.
Hi, how are you?
Okay. Tell us what you have the world's Guinness record on.
I happen to be the Guinness Book of World Records fastest talking female. I'm clocked at 603.32 words a minute, which comes out to 10 words a second. So we just got to get a lot of information in this short period of time. But I mean, I do a lot of other things too, which I'm sure we'll bring up later on, because I'm an author, I'm a voiceover artist, I'm an adventurous, I have 3 books that are out, I have another 4 books that are coming out. I do motivational speaking, I do humor in the workplace, which is why I'm here, and a whole bunch of other stuff, but I'm sure that'll come out.
I don't know if I can keep up with you. Why is humor so important?
Why is humor so important? Okay, for many reasons. Just starting at this. The problem is, like, let me start with a basic fact. The basic fact is, how many times a day you think that an adult laughs?
I never thought about it.
Yeah. An average adult laughs 15 times a day. An average child laughs 50 times a day. Somewhere along the line, we've lost our ability to find things humorous because all of a sudden we're in the workplace and now everything becomes very serious. The thing is, laughter is good in so many different ways. It relieves stress. It dissipates anger. It's good for you physiologically. Do you know that actually 20 minutes of laughing, like a good belly laugh, is equivalent to 3 minutes of rowing, right? So if you laugh at rowing, like a rowing machine of strenuous rowing. So just think, if you laugh for 20 minutes, you don't have to go on, you don't have to go to the gym and work out. But it's good because it releases endorphins, which, help you. It releases, it helps things in the immune system. Your hemoglobins in your immune system are raised, and it actually can help you fight off.
Can you slow down?
No. Okay. It actually can help you fight off immune system. If I slow down, I'm not going to remember what I'm saying. No, the thing is, I just always talk fast like this. This is pretty much how I am.
I was just thinking of our listeners.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, everybody seems to be able to keep up. I've done a bunch of TV shows, and you could always slow down the tape. That's the good thing. They could record it on TV. They could slow it down, and they could go, "That's what she said."
How do you use humor?
Personally, or just people in general?
People in general, or either one.
Well, okay. There's many different ways to use humor. See, the best way to use humor is in everyday life. It's like anything. Like, like if you want to get a good body, what do? You work out. People don't like working out. The only way that you do it is you start to build up a habit. So you have to develop a habit of laughter. You have to develop a habit of looking for things and finding the humor in them. I mean, and it doesn't have to be that you have to be a stand-up comic. You could find a cartoon. Just read a funny cartoon every day. Look at a funny T-shirt. Try to do things differently. And humor is very closely linked to creativity. And the really cool thing about that is that since people form habits, like every morning, most people brush their teeth with the same hand, and they brush their teeth the same way. If they get dressed in the morning, they put the same shoe on and the same sock. If you do any one of the things, like take the toothbrush and put it in the other hand, or start dressing with a different aspect, what you do is you create your brain to go, uh-oh, what happened? This is what they teach actors and actresses to do, to start doing creativity. When you open up the creativity and you expand the way you look at things, then you start to look at things in a different way. And that's what comics do. Comics find the humor in things. They take the picture and turn it upside down and go, yeah, that's funny.
Yes, listen, you do. How can you use humor to win an argument?
Okay. Well, first of all, humor is a really good tool to disarm somebody. Because what happens is when someone's angry, people expect certain habits. You expect that if somebody pushes, somebody pushes back. If I expect that I'm coming to you and I'm going like this, and all of a sudden you're going to have that, you get that stance. But if somebody comes to you with anger, and you just sit back for a second, and then you try to find the humor in it, first of all, you disarm them because they're not expecting it. And second of all, what happens is it allows it for it to calm down and take it to a different level. Now, I mean, people, you would think in certain situations, for example, I know my dad. Now, this wasn't exactly humorous to the lady it happened to, but it was a way of getting the woman to change the mind. Because all you got to do with humor, just like anything else, is change the focus. So, for example, my dad was in a car accident. This lady came out of the car, "You hit my car," blah, 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 and she's screaming at him and everything. And he just turned to her and goes, lady, you have bad breath. Well, the lady didn't know what to say. She just like stopped, and then she was like, and all he did was just short circuit her brain, because that's not the answer that you're expecting. That's what humor is. When a comic tells a joke, if you know the answer to the joke, you don't find it funny anymore. But if you don't see the joke coming, then all of a sudden it's funny. So you win the argument simply by finding the humor in something, by disarming the person.
Do you find that if you can laugh at yourself and share that, what's humorous to you with other people, is beneficial?
Oh, absolutely. First of all, I mean, in my motivational speaking, that's all I do is I tell all the stories about all the crazy things that I do and the way that I find humor in things. Like, for example, I should have brought him. I didn't bring him, but okay, I'll just tell you the story. I was getting divorced. What a surprise. Fast talk to get divorced. Husband couldn't keep up. No, there's always been, I usually say, my ex-husband used to go, was like, in a fight, I go, listen, not only were you in it, it's over, you lost. You didn't have a chance. But my second husband, yes, I've been married twice, my second husband wouldn't answer the divorce papers. And I had this little alligator that I called Al, and it had this little mouth. It's only like this big. And I would always go, hey, how you doing? And make the little alligator talk. And he would always respond when we had a fight to me making this little alligator come over his shoulder and talk. And I was like, I got to get him to respond to these divorce papers. So what I did was I took Al, and I put him in a little dollhouse chair, and I bound his mouth and bound his teeth and put and his arms, and bound him in this little chair and set him like in a pool. And I put an audio tape. Hey, She's gonna make me into a wallet. You better answer this. This is really serious. You gotta answer this. And I sent the audio tape with the divorce papers, and I FedExed it to his office, right? I was laughing just thinking, like, what is he gonna think when he opens it? Well, he opened it and he responded. He goes, how could I not respond to that? And, you know, everybody was saying, when my dad was dying of cancer and had chemo, he made me buy a chia pet to see whose hair would grow back faster. And we would do that. He would cut the hair on the chia pet. You could find humor in anything.
Now, how do you make it work to your advantage to become a powerful leader?
Well, listen, most of the speeches that you hear that somebody gives, right, the ones that you remember are, if someone could motivate, entertain, and inform, at the same time, you'll win the people over, as opposed to just giving out a bunch of dry facts. You know, people like to be entertained when they're doing it. You become a leader if people like hearing you speak, if you make people feel good. How do you make people feel good? If they're laughing, not if they're serious, thinking the end of the world is coming, you know? I mean, I know this one story of this woman, this couple actually, that lost their house to a tornado. You would think, oh my God, they lost the house. This is like, how, you know, this is terrible. You know what they put? They put a sign outside that said, gone with the wind. You know, so you'd think, like, if they could find humor in that, come on, you could be able to find humor in things that happen on an everyday basis.
What other classes do you teach besides a stress class and a humor class?
Motivation, that's a big thing that I do. I do a lot of keynote speaking. I just did one for 400 women. I got a standing ovation
How
for 400 women. So it was really cool. And I had this one 70-year-old woman, I made them dance at the end. She comes over, I haven't danced that much in a long time. It was so cute. She was like, I wish you were my next door neighbor. I was like giving her a hug. And because I love motivating people, and I like making them laugh. So making them laugh and motivate, I'm like in heaven. And then I write about it later for my articles. But I teach humor in the workplace, how to get publicity without a publicist, because not everybody who's starting out in business necessarily, you know, knows or can afford to hire a publicist. And I show them how to do the press releases and how to find a hook and all those different things, and how to break into voiceovers is the other lecture that I teach.
So how did you become the fastest talking woman?
Okay. I was working at a radio station, WBLS-FM, doing the weather and traffic as this character, Junice, which was Mae West's long-lost sister. So I was like, today the weather and traffic is, you know, so I was doing that whole thing. And what happened was, well, actually how I got that, I was working at the station as a comedy writer, and I mentioned to the disc jockey, I said, you know, Sergio, I could do a really good Mae West impression. The same day I mentioned, he throws the copy at me, and the red tally light comes on. And you know, in radio, the second the light comes on, you can have dead air. So I start doing the whole, you know, doing that whole thing. And it just so happened at that very moment, this lady from the Daily News, Diana Prince, happened to hear it. And she calls up the station. She goes, I'm doing an article on weather and traffic people. How long have you been doing it? Well, I'm not going to tell her 2 minutes. So I'm like, well, I've been doing it a while. I figured it felt like a while to me, right? So she goes, oh, can I interview you? I'm like, sure, you know. And I'm telling her all the different things I'm doing and articles I'm writing, and, you know, and I'm a single mom, and, you know, telling her all this stuff. And she winds up doing the whole article on me, right? And at the very end, she says to me, you know, I really enjoyed talking to you. I'd like to follow your career. What are you planning on doing next? Well, I didn't have a next, but I wasn't going to tell her that because my motto is just say yes and figure it out later. So I was like, well, I'm planning on breaking a world record. She goes, really, for what? Well, I didn't have a for what. So I said, well, I can't really tell you because, you know, I don't want to jinx it or anything. She goes, well, you know what? My deadline's 6 o'clock tonight. You decide you want to tell me. Tell me. I run out. I buy a Guinness book. I'm looking like world's longest joke. What can it be? I'm looking for all these things I can't find. So I see fast talking. I go, hey, everybody always told me I talk fast. Maybe I could do that. It's 5 to 6. I know her dead's like 6 o'clock. I have to be on stage in like 15 minutes. I call her up from the booth. I go, I'm thinking of break the Guinness Book of World Records for fast talking. She goes, really? What's the record? I'm reading it in the book. Oh, the record's 552 words. And she goes, really? What are you at? I go, 550. I'm working really hard on those last 2 words. She prints it in the paper. The very next day, the Larry King Live people call me up and ask me to go on the show and break the record. To be honest with you, I didn't know who Larry King was. At that time, I heard, you know, cable. I was like, was this some kind of porn thing? You know, it's like, no, national show. I said, okay. I thought to myself, what's the worst that happens? Worst that happens is I make a fool of myself on national TV. Best that happens, I break a world record. I went on the Larry King Live show, broke the record to 585 words a minute. I went to Vegas a couple of years later, broke it to 603.22 words a minute. And that's
The rest is history.
And the rest is history.
Oh my God. What would you like to leave the audience with?
What I would like to leave the audience with. Besides a couple of things, I guess the main thing is this. I have a couple of philosophies in life, and I feel that they're fear nothing, seize the day, right? Find the laughter in everything you do, right? And live every day as if it's your last, because one day you'll be right.
And thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
joining me. It's been wonderful listening to all your adventures and learning about humor in the workplace and in life.
Yes, thank you.
That is wonderful. Thank you for joining us. And how fast do you talk? Welcome. I'm Barrie-Louise Switzen, and we're in Las Vegas, and we're going to be interviewing a very exciting woman, Senator Sandra Tiffany, and hear her story. Sandra, thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome.
What was the catalyst that got you into politics?
Actually, it was serendipity. I didn't have any particular burning advocacy issues, or I wasn't extremely involved with any kind of a political party. I had just moved to Las Vegas and had decided that, gee, I've been working since I was a young kid, and I wanted to do something that I didn't have to produce income, and so I just said, heck, I think I'm going to try politics.
So what was your first step to get into politics?
I called the county chairman and said, gee, I'd really like to run for politics, because I didn't know the difference between city council or county commission or a state. And he interviewed me and said, well, gee, with your business background, you probably best would be served in the state legislature. And so that's kind of how I talked to somebody and kind of got focused and then looked at where I wanted to be and where I wanted to run.
Did you find it difficult finding funds to back your campaign?
No, it wasn't too bad, because I was a credible candidate. And what might be interesting here too is when I went to the county commission, went to the county party, he says, well, you might want to get a campaign manager and you might want to approach this profession. I said, yes, because I intend to win. I want to put some money into it. And so I got a woman campaign manager.
Yay.
Because I said, I don't want a guy, I want a very strong woman. And that woman, Marilyn Gubler, my campaign manager, was born and raised in Las Vegas. She's natural at this. Had run races before, but she wasn't at the time, so I had to go beg her to take my race. But being with her gave me a lot of credibility, too.
Do you find women are having an easier time getting into politics today versus many years ago?
Oh, yeah. We finally have got women that are willing to run. If you looked at 20 or 30 years ago, the women didn't necessarily think that they could go and run for office or serve in a political position. They thought that they should be at home or raising their children, and that definitely has changed.
We had a runoff in Hawaii with 2 women running for governors. I think that's like unheard of, and it's really spectacular.
No longer are women saying, gee, I should not think about that, or I'll let somebody else do it. In fact, in the state legislature where I serve, the women really are the policy makers. The guys are the ones that want to do the power brokering deals and cut the deals, but the women are the real strong policy makers.
If a woman wants to get involved in politics, what would you suggest she do?
Well, the first thing I think they should do is go work on a political campaign to even see if that's what they want to do. Because what you might think holding that position could be entirely different, and it might not fit your lifestyle, or it might not fit where your position is in life, because it takes away an awful lot of time from an earning potential. So I think you got to go work in somebody's campaign, and then from there decide if that's what you want to do.
Not too long ago, you almost died. You were rushed to the hospital. Would you like to tell us the story?
Well, I was on my way from Las Vegas to Sacramento to see the Attorney General, and one of my scheduled stop was in Burbank. But between Las Vegas and Burbank, I got very sick, instantly, very sick. Severe flank pain and nausea, and it was to the point where the stewardess said, you're getting off this plane. So I did. I got off the plane with my business associate, and they had the paramedics come in to the airport and said, this girl's sick. So they took me immediately to the emergency room. And in the emergency room, they diagnosed me as having a kidney stone. And the kidney stone was blocked. But at that point, too, I had a very high, elevated white blood cell count, which means I had an infection. So they kept me overnight and gave me a couple of antibiotics, and then 2 o'clock the next afternoon I went down to surgery to have my kidney stone removed, and that's where I didn't come back.
How soon after your surgery until the time the doctor diagnosed actually what was going on, what was the time frame?
It was very short, a couple of hours, but it was more, the diagnosis had to happen immediately, but also the medication, what they were going to do. So diagnosis is one, but the treatment was the other, and they had to happen very, very quickly, because at that point my organ failure was cascading. They had already lost the lungs and the kidneys and the liver, and the heart was on its way, so they had to make some very quick decisions.
Came to your rescue, and they put you on medication. How did she figure out what exactly you had? It was called sepsis?
Yeah, severe sepsis. And severe sepsis is where the bacterial infection from my blockage of my kidney stone, when they took the stone out, that infection actually entered my bloodstream. And that's where I started to get into trouble. It wasn't the kidney stone, it was the bacterial infection in my bloodstream.
Now, is this normal to get a bacterial infection?
No, but it can happen. It can happen. It just happened with me that when the bacteria, it was a very virulent strain, and so my body's reaction was not good. I immediately started shutting down, and it was the infectious disease doctor, that was the lady. She was an infectious disease doctor. She and my intensive care doctor both worked together. And the two areas of importance for survival on severe sepsis is immediate diagnosis and correct treatment. What's unique about the treatment is they gave me the drug called Zygris. It's manufactured by Eli Lilly. It was the only one in that hospital that had ever gotten that drug. In fact, I'm not so sure that many people had gotten that drug before I had, because it had just been approved. Normally they give you antibiotics for bacteria. This was an anti-inflammatory. So it was a brand new drug, it was a unique situation. They both had to work very fast on the diagnosis and the prescription and getting that drug in-house and giving it to me.
Now, since it's a bacterial infection,
Yeah.
if you didn't have a kidney stone, how would they have ever found it, or what would have happened to you?
Well, to diagnose severe sepsis, and that's what the problem is right now with the diagnosis of that, it can be from a cancer victim, it can be from a broken leg, it can be from so many varieties. A cyst it's from a site where there is an infection. And once that infection then that reaches the bloodstreams, that's where you get into trouble. So it's all over the map. And that's why I also then created some model legislation after I got out of the hospital, introduced it to women in government, that says, okay, in my state of Nevada where I introduced the model legislation, is I want every intensive care to be able to tell me how many people have severe sepsis, were diagnosed, what their treatment was, and what their outcomes were. So we can get a much better handle now on severe sepsis.
Forward, what would you suggest people do?
As far as severe sepsis, I think that if your family is attuned to where you have a disease, an infection, you end up in intensive care, you're not breathing, you have cascading organ failures, I think that they need to say to the doctor, shouldn't we be doing something other than antibiotics? Isn't there another method other than, let's say, diagnosing it? Treatment. Look at the treatment. Is there something we can do about this? Because if you're going to die, it's going to be very, very quick. I had a very short period of time where they could either pull me out of it or I was going to die, and it was within 3 or 4 days. So the family also, besides the physician, the family needs to look at it as well as say, gee, I think we need to do more than antibiotics. In my case, I had 8 doctors working on me.
Wow.
They had a team. Yeah, it was quite a circus. But the 2 people at the very beginning was the infectious disease doctor and the ICU doctor. They're the ones that diagnosed it. And after that, the rest of it was cleanup. The rest of it was I had to get on dialysis. The rest of it was cardiac failure. The rest of it was all of the other problems that were associated with having severe sepsis. So I had a lot of doctors making sure I was going to live.
That's quite a team.
Yeah, it is quite a team. And then the family, my family, how do you cope with that? Where at one moment they think I'm going to have a surgery to remove a kidney stone, and then the next thing they know is I'm in intensive care and I may not live through the night. It was quite traumatic.
Back to being a senator.
Mm-hmm.
How do you balance your professional life? You're a single mom, you're a senator, and you have a lot of other interests.
I do, yeah. I'm just busy.
How do you balance it all?
Well, I don't date much, which there's not a lot of time left to date. But between working and politics, and then my professional, my family life, and then all of the other boards and organizations and fundraisers and activities I go to, I'm just a really busy person. But I choose to be that way. I like being engaged. I like being involved in my community. So I have that personality that suits that very well.
What advice would you give to women?
I think find what you want to do. And then when you do, don't just do everything to fulfill that. And when you find your destiny or your it, or the clunk in life, as I call it too, you'll know what it is.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been wonderful listening to your story, and I'm so glad you're still with us.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be alive too. When anybody ever says, "How are you doing?" I always say, "I'm alive."
My role in this war, I feel that there's barely anything that I can do to make a change, to find a more peaceful way. So I've devised this simple dance to connect each of our chakras, each of our layers of physical body, to send all of our energy for peace into the universe for what is happening right now in the world. The more commitment there is, with every layer of yourself, with your mind, with your emotion, with your spirit life, with your soul, with your voice, with your physical body, with your passion, with your dream life, if you attach all of those to one idea, to one goal, you send that power out into the world. I believe that with many people doing these movements together, it might make a difference. The butterfly effect. So I've devised a series of very simple movements based on the chakras of the body, our 7 layers of body, not just our physical body, but our dream life, our thoughts, our emotions, all of it, all the way through, our spirit, our mental, our voice, our emotion, everything. I've combined it all so that with our energy that we can go through, make contact with every bit of ourselves and send it all into the universe for peace. Peace, 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 peace. The first move is on the top of the head. Your spirit, sending that with the effort only towards peace, into the sky. Next, your forehead, front and back, addressing the mental plane. Your thoughts are only for peace, offering it out into the universe. Next to your throat, your voice, your soul, sending that out for peace. Next, your heart, your emotion, all for peace, out. Next to your solar plexus, your physical body, your breath, and out. Then to your tummy, your dream life, all for peace, out. Then to the Kundalini chakra, your passion, all for peace, and out. And then you harness all 7 chakras, undulating through your body and sending it out into the sky for peace. All 7 layers of your body, all for one purpose: peace on this world. Peace, 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 peace.
I was proud to be an American when we saved our might for right. So I won't back off and watch me die, 'cause our leaders picked a fight. And I'll gladly step up to join for peace and defend our right to say this war has stained our nation's soul. It shames the USA. Yet I'm proud to be an American, where my protest proves I'm free. And I honor all the men who died, who earned that right for me. And I'll gladly stand up next to you to defend her still today. But there is no doubt this fight's not right. It shames the USA. But there is no doubt this fight's not right. It shames the USA.